Yeah, we're at my sports talk again. Here on a Wednesday night, uh, week of the game that was supposed to be, and
Hmm.
it's no longer. Obviously,
Right.
they've canceled the Michigan Ohio State game this weekend, and obviously the COVID strikes down a lot of people this year so far, and it's just a matter of time until it got the the best rivalry in football. So, but obviously a lot of heartbroken people. I know Bo and Woody are probably rolling over in their graves, but that happens. They're right over my shoulder here, and so you can see them there on the wall here in my basement. But
Who is the Brown Jug game?
that's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
We won that one. That was one of our W's this year.
So don't forget that one.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping that the season will continue, and a lot of different questions going around right now with Michigan football and
Yep.
and the COVID number one, and moving on to that crossover game. Hopefully that'll transpire and potentially a bowl game down the road, maybe for them. Obviously, it's
I
disheartening.
don't think they'll play a bowl game.
Huh?
I don't think they're going to play a bowl game.
No.
Seriously?
I think there's only there's a very minimal amount of games compared to years past, and I think there's only, what did I hear, 65 or 68 teams competing this year. But I don't think there's enough bowl games to go around for everybody. And with a record like Michigan has, I guess that it's very possible they could get in because other teams are going to have the same issue Michigan's having right now later. So I guess it's possible. I'm more concerned about what's going on behind the scenes. The players and the commentary I read today was pretty damning. And really irritating, to be honest. So I'm struggling with the whole Joe Milton thing and his commentary, and how does Harbaugh do this and let it get to that level? If it's true what he said, he would not have an injured thumb right now and not be playing. He would be off the damn team. Enough.
Be off the team.
You can't make comments like that. You just can't.
Sure. I didn't see him. I don't know what. Obviously, Tom's son played for Michigan. Tom's been an avid fan, and he knows he's got a little bit more outreach than some of us. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the story I read today was he had tweeted out, and he had said this during the Rutgers game when he got pulled late in the game. He said, "Fuck this team. I'm going to transfer and I'm going to drop 50 on us. I'm going to come back and I'm going to drop 50 on."
Oh, that's what the quarterback said.
Yeah, and then it got tweeted after the game by someone.
Really?
And he has not denied it.
He hasn't denied it.
No.
So he's being legit.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So it's just frustrating.
Yeah. There's no reason.
Let me ask you a question, both of you. Is this a transitional year to a new mindset for sports?
Well, I would say yes, but I would also say, if you had the time in the preseason like we did, we literally had all of these guys, all 110 players, locked up in a bubble for 5 months. And, it's not like the kids were off doing their own thing like they'd normally be doing during school.
Right.
And they came into the season as unified as I think I've ever heard they've been unified.
Yep.
And they go out and they have a very poorly called game by the offensive coordinator. And it makes Milton look bad. And he didn't play well. And they lose. And all of a sudden, everything unraveled in a day. And, I got to say this. I certainly don't think under Bo you would ever see that happen. The discipline that he instilled in these guys, I just don't see it in today's football players overall. But can you imagine a player like that at Alabama, or making those kind of comments, and he was your starting quarterback?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
That's a shame. That's obviously, you don't see that, and that would never have been tolerated, I think, if it ever got out. I mean, maybe Bo had his issues with players, and it was dealt with, and things were done, and it doesn't seem like Harbaugh would be that type of guy that would just let that slide. I know Milton came out and had a great first game against Minnesota, and really exceeded. Everybody's like, oh, they were praising him like crazy. And then you unravel there in the next couple games, and looks like he had no idea what he was doing out there, and some of his plays and reads. And
I think a lot of it was play calling. You lose offensive linemen, and you still try to run plays where you can't run between the tackles. You just don't have the offensive line to do that. Yeah. And you do nothing to help your quarterback be in a position to have success. It's like watching Austin Davis in the first 5 minutes of this game today. Austin Davis scored the first 8 points and really had the first 10, but he got called for an offensive foul. Yeah. And what did they do? They went to him. They put him in positions to be successful. He went and got some offensive rebounds and scored. If in normal games, Wagner's the only one that wants to score in the beginning of the game, and everybody kind of stands around. And and then everybody goes, well, Austin Davis shouldn't start because he can't score. Well, sometimes you got to have plays designed to make a player play better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But Tom, question for you.
Yeah.
Is this a off year for everyone to rejigger their team? Like,
I would say absolutely. I mean, it's chaotic out there. Just chaotic.
Yeah. So who do you invent at this point?
Who what?
Well, like, look at the Lions. They actually fired both the manager. Yeah. So what would U of M or MSU do right now? They have the opportunity to reboot themselves.
Well, in Michigan's situation, I don't want them to reboot. I really don't. I want them to continue doing what they're doing. Yeah. This story that is still creeping out there about Harbaugh leaving. I don't know, Pat. John Bacon. I mean, I know John Bacon.
Yeah.
And you read what John Bacon says. And if John Bacon says they've offered him a contract and everything's good, there's nobody else I'll listen to outside of John Bacon.
Right. And everybody else has no credit, I don't think,
Exactly. Exactly. And Monday, Bacon said they've offered him a contract. Here's the details. Mm-hmm. Him and Chris Ballas told the story. Okay, great. But all of a sudden yesterday, after the press conference, they both went silent.
Yeah.
So that could be something very telling. So it'll be interesting to see the next 10 days or however many days. Yeah, the 10 days till the 19th to see what Bake says. And if he doesn't say anything, then he might be gone.
Yeah.
All right.
But you get that, and then obviously that meeting they had yesterday to talk about the game not being played.
Right.
Was the meeting about the game not being played.
Absolutely.
And that's how they wanted that whole meeting to go.
Yeah, I agree.
How the game was not going to be played. Plus, let's dilute it with Harbaugh's contract. They went in there with the mindset, we're not going to discuss it. And Manuel, he pretty much squelched it on that first question. I sat there listening, waiting for that first question to come up.
Right.
And the guy, after about 5 questions, finally asked it. That first guy wanted to ask it, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they played along, and he finally asked it. And Manuel said, "Hey, this is about this. We're going to address that at the end of the season," which is fine. And you can say, "Oh, nothing's been discussed. I haven't offered it to him." You know how the game's played. Everybody does it. Every team does it. You got guys that say, "I'm not leaving," and then they leave. Some guys say, "I'm leaving," and they stay. So it's the way things go, and it's.
The only problem I had with all of it is the optics on saying that they'll announce something on the 19th when signing day is the 16th.
Right. Yep. Yeah. That was a big thing. The early signing day.
This is a moment They're all going to flush the toilet all at once.
Yeah, I just don't see Michigan doing it, and especially.
Seriously?
Yeah, the logic of it isn't there. That it's not logical to do it.
No.
Now that doesn't mean Ward Manuel's totally logical, but and from Harbaugh's perspective, it's if his ego is even bigger than I think, and he knows he can make $10 million a year in the NFL, and he can't make that here now. The contract they've offered him is significantly less than that, supposedly.
Yep.
And it's highly incentive laden. Does he say, no, the hell with that?
Yeah. Does he coast into the sunset?
Oh, he won't coast into the sunset. He's not done.
He's not done yet.
Yeah, no,
No, not while his brother's still coaching. He's not done.
True.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I know people are like, oh, NFL wants him. Yeah, they've said that every year that they want him. But
and they would take him.
It's because he was there and he left and he came to Michigan, which is, was his dream job. And I think it still is his dream job. But I think, there's just a thing, obviously the COVID case has impacted a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about last night, Bob and I don't know if he's game enough to leave yet without beating the Buckeyes.
Oh,
I don't think
so.
he could walk out the door without getting a W, and he hasn't gotten that W yet. Yeah. So that could weigh. Whether it is or not, I'm just saying that could be a thing that would weigh on his mind that I walked away and I didn't beat the Buckeyes when I coached Michigan.
Yeah, I don't see him getting fired. I absolutely don't see that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I
don't see that happening at all. Do I see him leaving of his own accord? There is a potential for that, but I do not see Ward Manuel going enough's enough. And for anybody who thinks that Schlissel's going to say get rid of Manuel and get rid of Harbaugh, they don't know anything about college sports. Right, they think it's ran like the Lions with the Ford family getting rid of everybody. It's not like that. College athletics is so dramatically different.
Yeah. Tom, have you seen the last episodes or two? Because if we evict the owners of the Lions, we may win a season.
Yeah, don't we think? We think?
The only comment
in the Lions game, they absolutely lioned the Chicago Bears in that game.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I commented on that the other night.
Pat?
What's that?
The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about lions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
No, I commented that the other night. I said usually the Lions take a victory and turn it into a loss.
Yeah.
The other night they took the loss.
Talk about it.
Victory, which is very rare.
Talk about it. They lose next week.
Oh, I don't even know who they play because I don't even follow them close enough anymore. Who do they play?
The Packers come into town.
Oh, God, they're going to lose by 40.
Please have an upbeat concept of the game.
Okay, I have an upbeat concept. Aaron Rodgers will have a very good game.
Yes.
They will probably he'll probably go 23 for 27 with 4 touchdowns, maybe a pick on a tipped ball. Devontae Adams, just imagine what that man's going to do. So I'm being positive as somewhat of a Packer fan.
Yeah.
I cannot tell that. Sorry.
Yeah. So to close up on a little bit of Michigan, obviously, to close up on Michigan, I think Harbaugh stays. I think contract is not a bad contract because how do you, with what he's done in the rivalry games, I don't know if he can take a raise.
Oh no,
salary.
Well, no one's getting a raise.
So
no one's getting a raise.
And then you have the COVID situation where the money intake is really dropped off. So you need to put the university in a position from Harbaugh's standpoint even. But I think he wants more money for his assistants, which he's looking out for his guys that are his assistants. So he's going to do that, and that's what's in this incentive or the proposal. And then obviously, I think it needs to be, he's going to earn money if he beats Sparty, Buckeyes, gets to Indianapolis, and he's gonna maybe get a sniff of the BCS. So those are things that will entice him for the next 4 years and get him to 60 years old. You can still go to NFL at 60 years old.
He should.
You know, there's plenty of 60-year-old coaches in the NFL, and he could coach there for another 5 years, even at the time, if he wanted to. But I really think if he does things well at Michigan, he should just stay there and be there, just like Bo. I think, you know, go when you go.
Okay, so here's a question to throw on the table, and I threw this up in our text stream a couple weeks ago. So if Harbaugh would leave, who is your number one and number two candidate to take the job? And if someone says they want some jackass offensive coordinator from some other school, I'm gonna shoot him. That is such bullshit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, you can't have that. No.
Yeah.
And I've always said there isn't anybody. I mean, I think when you went after Harbaugh, you got the creme de la creme that you wanted. And there was nobody else there. And I still don't know right now, looking across the way, I don't know who's out there unless you went after
Since you said that and you shot the gun, all right.
Yeah.
Who do you think would be next in line in case he went out of business? Who is the next person in line for that role? Inside his own coach?
Nobody.
You know, I have to say,
because you're now throwing down the gauntlet.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I have to say that I don't think within his staff,
yes, there
is a guy like Lloyd always had someone, or Bo or Mo always had someone. I don't see that. There's no Mike DeBoard. There's no one, even a guy like Jackson who was there for so long. There's no one within the system to do that.
Then why wouldn't you already start looking for secondaries?
And I'm sure he is. Oh, I'd be shocked if.
There's discussion of like Mike Hart, the old running back, bringing him in on the staff under Harbaugh, and there's discussion of bringing in the offensive coordinator for me, some old Michigan guys, trying to put those guys on the staff under Harbaugh. For next year. So you clean out some guys and you bring in these guys to do it. Now, as far as anybody taken, there's not like when they got rid of Hoke, it was like, well, there's always a Michigan guy out there. That's Harbaugh. Right now, in this situation, there isn't a proven man that's coaching another team like Harbaugh, or an old Michigan guy. So then you're looking at, okay, now do you go out and do a Rich Rod search where you picked up Rich Rod? You know what I mean? So it's not like you can't go out there and get a guy that's the hot guy. I don't think that's possible.
Well, there is one hot guy.
Iowa State's guy is the only guy that they're talking about.
There's only one hot guy. There's only one. And Michigan fans will poo-poo this all day long, but there's only one guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you heard the story on Monday, but supposedly Texas inquired as to his interest.
Sure.
And he basically said, all he said was, there's already a coach there. I'm not interested. And the speculation was it was because of his health issue. Let's see. He had the same thing at Utah. He had the same thing at Florida. And now he has the same thing at Ohio State. Do you really think this guy is a loyalist to anybody?
I don't think so.
I don't either. So for people that get wound up with the fact that he coached at Ohio State, you know what? I really believe that he said, by the way, do you recall when he left Utah, he had in his contract who the 3 schools he could go to. It was in his contract, built in. Who were the 3 schools?
Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan.
It was. It's exactly right. And he ended up at Florida.
And he went to Florida, right? Yeah.
He went to Florida.
Because they couldn't go to Ohio State.
Contract for those 3 schools.
Tressel was at Ohio State. Michigan was under, I think, Rich Rod.
Lloyd. And still Lloyd, yep.
Oh, was Lloyd still there? So, so they were still that. And Notre Dame was still occupied with
under Holtz. Wasn't he under Holtz? Yeah.
Both even Weiss, Charlie Weiss, man. But
It
so
might
there
have
was,
been Charlie Weiss, yeah.
so there might have been some overlap there that he couldn't go. So he went to Florida, built them up. And then he went to Ohio State, and he was the Ohio State guy, right? I mean, he's an Ohio.
Everybody can go like this. How
Yeah.
hard is it to do that? Hell, Rich Rod learned how to sing the Michigan fight song.
Exactly. I mean, would it be ideal? I mean, you're looking at it like, Bo was maybe in line to take over for Woody, but he went to Miami of Ohio and ended up at Michigan. So now it's like, oh, Bo was supposed to go in for Woody. You know what I mean? So there was always maybe potential alignment there. So now you got Urban, who goes off for a while. Now he comes back. Wouldn't that be something if I mean, not to say it would be ideal, but I mean, obviously that
would you root for him if he was the coach? Would you want your season tickets if he was the coach? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
People would get on the wagon no matter what. I think people would get on the wagon 100% if, Urban Meyer was the Michigan coach.
Yep.
So I don't know.
they
James got to that yet, but I mean, that's who we're talking
about. And I'm positive that, who's his name? Ross down at Miami, the big rich guy who owns the Miami Dolphins.
A business.
He's not going to go, oh no, I don't like Urban Meyer. I'm not donating $400 million to the university anymore.
Right. Yeah. The donors are still going to
just don't see that.
The donors are still going to come out and donate their money, whether or not it's Urban Meyer or anybody else. It'd be like bringing in, Brian Kelly if he gets out of Notre Dame, but he's done such a great job there.
Yeah.
And he was on the hot seat a few years ago.
Oh yeah.
He was on the same hot seat that Jim Harbaugh's on right now.
Yeah. I don't want to see Harbaugh go. I really don't. I'd like to see him stick it out. I'd like to see him become the Harbaugh mold.
Look at the last game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy win?
I'm sorry, Jim. What's that?
Well, the last game. Who won?
The Penn State game?
Yeah.
Oh, God, it was terrible.
I know it was terrible. Guess what?
Penn State handled it pretty good.
Where's the track record?
Well, there is no track record with large opponents. He's got a decent record against Wisconsin, a decent record against Penn State, and now a decent record against Michigan State, but not against Ohio State, not against Alabama. Anybody who's ranked and he plays them on the road, the first victory he had against a ranked team on the road was at Minnesota this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want the head coach at Iowa State. Come on, guys.
He's the hot name. He's the big hot name right now, and I'm like, no.
That's like saying you want who's the offensive coordinator at San Francisco that everybody says will be a perfect fit for the Lions because he's from Dearborn.
Oh,
what the?
Yeah, the defensive guy.
I mean, come on.
Taylor would be the ideal coach for the Lions, right?
Yeah.
They want him at the Lions.
He's never been a head coach.
Right. Yeah. I think you got to get a head coach. I think in that situation, you can't go like you said, Tom, with the hot offensive coordinator or something like that. I think you need the proven leader guy. And that's especially at Michigan. I think if Michigan's not in that position, whether or not they've won, lost, whatever, it's still the nostalgia of Michigan is still high enough that you shouldn't have to settle. You shouldn't have to settle. And
we proved how dumb it was to go after Rich Rod. That's been proven beyond belief.
Yeah, we can't go back like that. I should say we. But I mean, Michigan can't go back in that situation. And as much as you had like D'Antonio at Michigan State, did they make an equal hire to what D'Antonio's splash was when he was hired? I don't think so. I mean, he's done well, but I don't know. I think D'Antonio's ranking when he was hired in at Michigan State was higher. I mean, I think they nailed it when they hired D'Antonio.
Yeah, he fit them. He fit them very well.
And I don't know if Day is the guy at Ohio State. Time will tell. But he was the assistant to the big guy. So you bring the same guy in-house. He knows what's going on at Ohio State. He knows the whole situation.
Yep.
They hired from within. Were there guys at Michigan State under D'Antonio that could have taken it? Maybe, but there was a lot of issues with his assistant coaches there that they had, everybody knows about. So So I don't know. And people are like, oh, go get Dabo Sweeney or go get Nick Saban. People that say that are just they're just social media dumb rates or whatever. I just don't understand them
Yes.
sometimes.
Let me ask you a water cooler question.
Sure.
The idea that the team is college students, they eventually will move on or move out, right?
Yes.
And coaching and the staff of coaching is not from the college necessarily. It's hired staff.
Yes.
So how do you transition from a player to a coach?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. Go ahead, Pat, and I'll give you my opinion because Chris did it. So
how do you transfer from a player to a coach?
Yeah,
or transition.
How do you transition from being a player to a coaching element?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. I think a lot of guys.
Never seen that. Never seen it.
What's that?
Tell me one player that became a coach.
Well, Bo was a player.
Yeah. There's a lot of players who become coaches.
What year was that?
Oh God, 1957 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Dabo Sweeney was a player that became a coach. He played for I think Alabama or Auburn. Somebody went to now he's at South.
He basically
Nick
moved.
Saban. I think Nick Saban played. A lot of guys play. They coach.
Yeah.
But the transition in that the players competitive continues. That's why they get into that coaching.
Yeah.
The players need that competitive surge, and that I think they need to stay in there, and they it's their it's their livelihood. They've done it for a long time, so they continue to coach.
Excuse me, boys.
You're good.
No, you're fine. Just curious.
But yeah, there's a lot of things there that that happen.
I just find it entertaining that high school has coaching, which is management level, and all of the players are basically employees. And then you go to college level where they go to play in the next team level, but then there's coaching. And then NFL, which is more or less you play under coaching.
Yeah. No, the coaching.
Now, honestly, it's been like that for since youth sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the energy they get out of it, the knowledge. Some guys are players who make great coaches.
Transition to management level?
I'm sorry?
Can they transition to management level?
Oh yeah. Yeah, John Elway.
I'm back.
Ozzie Newsome, John Elway have all transferred to the administration level too. So they have players that have kept going all the way through the ranks, So there's a lot of guys that stay in. Some guys get out and don't want to do it. Some guys go into broadcasting, so there's a lot of different things. Tom, what did you think on that?
I'll give you my take on Chris because he played for 12 years in Europe and then came back and went and coached as an unpaid assistant at Ferris State. And after 1 year, they wanted to put him on the staff and pay him a little bit to be an assistant coach because they had a big guy on that team that he coached that ended up transferring from Ferris State to like Seton Hall. And he played in the NBA for a year and now he's back in Europe. Here's Chris's comment on coaching those kids and recruiting those kids. No effing way. They're a bunch of entitled. And he says, I'm not kissing anybody's behind. And when it comes to college coaches, when you really think about, especially at a Ferris State level, you're taking the drippings off the turkey and hoping that you get a little bit of turkey with it, right? And you just don't get the premier kids, especially in basketball. So he said, enough is enough. I don't need to work 80 hours, 90 hours a week and not be around my family.
Sure.
And that's why he said enough's enough.
Yeah.
So Tom, just to catch you up, since you were off for the half minute, I asked a question, which was basically, how do you become a player and then transition to management or team coaching? Yeah. And that transition, where? High school, college, NFL?
Depends on how much money you want to make. Because there's an awful lot of former players in a lot of different sports that end up coaching in high school. or they coach an AAU type team, some level of AAU, and you just can't make any money. And if you're not in a situation, and John Beilein was, I'm not going to say he was a problem as a head coach, but he purposefully would not take former Michigan players that he didn't coach as assistants. He brought back Travis Conlon as the basketball operations guy, but never gave him an opportunity to be a coach. Never. He was a basketball operations guy.
Yeah.
He brought back David. But David Merritt was an unpaid grad assistant, but he was allowed to coach because David Merritt played for him. So when Chris came back, he's not going to coach at a level below a Michigan. He just isn't going to do it because you get kind of put at that level, and you have a hard time going and moving up. Sadie Washington's a great example. That kid's a great coach. He's been at Michigan now for 6 years. He was an assistant at Oakland U. He's going to get a head coaching job, but he's not going to get a head coaching job at a high major. It's not going to happen. He'll go back to Eastern Michigan to be a head coach. So if you want to make money, you really need to get to the next level to be a coach.
Yep.
And that's a tough road to hoe right there. Real tough.
But you look at even in not necessarily football, but in basketball, you had Isaiah Thomas, you had Larry Bird, you had Magic Johnson, all three of those gentlemen who are Hall of Famers who reached the pinnacle of their sport, try to go back and coach at the NBA level.
And they can't.
All had a hard time. I think I'll give Larry the most success out of them. I mean, Magic was okay, but the Magic went to the administrative. Now he's ownership and all that.
Right.
Isaiah's kind of wandered around, and he's in broadcasting. I think Larry's in maybe the Pacers administration.
Yeah.
But there's other guys. I mean, the guy from the Clippers. He's still coaching.
Yeah, Danny Manning.
Yeah, Manning, and then the other guy. I forget.
So I mean, to answer your question, Jim, that is a very tough transition, and it's almost like high school recruiting, college recruiting. It's 1 in a million. It really is 1 in a million. It isn't many.
Yeah.
To gamble more, right?
But here, when you're talking about that, most of them play 10, 15 years, and their dedication is there. They're there all the time. They're traveling. They're away from family. They're always, for that whole time they're playing, they're gone. So now they retire and they want to go back and enjoy their wives or kids. They want to step away a lot of times. They don't want to just keep on going and have that. I mean, it's ego. Like Tom said, ego. You get the ego want to keep and go coaching. Like, I mean, you wonder how Coach K, all those guys, Izzo, these guys that keep coaching and coaching, to have that competitiveness to keep going and the drive to keep going. Obviously, you're getting paid pretty well, but to keep that career going for as long as they have. And then Coach K even said last night, he goes, it just doesn't feel like we should be playing basketball right now.
Well, that's just getting his ass kicked, but yeah.
That too. Yeah, that too. He's struggling, no doubt about it. His team isn't playing well at this time, but he's used to having Cameron crazy. He's yelling and screaming in there, and the whole environment is totally awkward, no doubt about it. And for him to still be there coaching now, even at this time, to see that part of the game, it's like, well, man, wow, there's a lot of coaches out there walk into an empty football stadium that used to have 100,000, 80,000, 90,000 people screaming and yelling. It's an adjustment, and that's where it's almost like a free year. It's like
I think it has to be.
The players anticipate it, the coaches anticipate it. Everybody anticipates a full house, people screaming, yelling.
The problem is this: they're piping the audio of crowds.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure. Sure.
And I'm listening to a crowd answering to the play out for the minute. Like if there's an advancement for one team versus the other, are they visitors or are they home? The whole thing doesn't make sense when at the end, things can change and suddenly the crowd doesn't respond properly because there's no crowd. And we're talking about this across the board. There's no gameplay that doesn't have an audience.
You know
what I'm saying? MSU, Ohio, I don't care who it is, there's no crowd. It's all piped audio for the viewers, not the players. They don't hear the audio.
Have you asked any players or former players how they feel about not playing in front of the fans, or have you heard any interviews about that?
No, I've not. But do me a favor.
I did. I
Right.
talked to my son. He was here the other day, and we watched the basketball game. And I asked him what he thought about going into a stadium where there's either few fans or no fans versus going into a stadium where the fans can jack you up and get you going.
Yep.
And he said, do you know what's crazy about that? The only
Yeah.
time you hear the fans is when you're not playing.
Oh, wow.
He said, I'd go shoot free throws at Michigan State and they're spitting at me and I didn't care. The noise, all this stuff, you don't know it. Your job as a player is to focus on what you have to focus on. When you're sitting on the sideline, not in the game, and you can't even hear the coach talking, he says that's when it affects you.
Oh, so I'm going to call that gameplay intensity.
Yes. Yeah. And tonight, I don't know if you saw this, but Juwan Howard got a technical foul because he said something through his mask and the official heard him. Well, you would never hear him if there were fans in the stands.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And Kelser even said it. He said, well, at least he's not in the NBA. He's not going to get fined for it,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's the thing. Obviously you're out there, you're focused, like the linemen, they're focused on their job, the running backs, football, basketball, same way. They're going up and down playing, and until the whistle blows and they're at a free throw line, maybe they might pick it up that no one's there. But I think when they're playing, I think they're just going in their normal procedure. But once it stops, like you're saying, once you're standing on the sideline, you get a chance to look around or, wow, here, and but some schools have more fans, though, too.
The silence is deafening. That's the problem I have with the team.
Yeah.
Every team, they're hearing nothing. We hear everything, they hear nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they pipe it into you on TV, so it's
but I don't know if you saw this. The Big Ten did this before they started. They had taken recordings years ago of stadium noise from each stadium. So if your decibel level at Michigan was 98, well, then you could pipe in noise up to a level. If you were at Ohio State and they were at 120, they could pipe in noise up to that level. They did that purposely so that it tried to create the same level of noise that you would have in a normal game. So, Pat, you and I have been to Northwestern, right? It's not the loudest place.
No.
So they're at 12 decibels, whatever it is. Yeah. So that's all they could pipe in.
Yeah.
Indiana, Illinois, some of those places, they're just not that loud. Yeah. So that's what they did. And they allowed them to pipe in a certain type of noise, not the noise like you would hear at an away stadium, but
yeah.
That's the problem. Now you're dealing with two audiences: the fans of the team and the visitors team. So how do you pipe the audio? Well,
Exactly. It's dumb. It's dumb. I'm glad they're playing, but you asked this question earlier, Jim. Is this kind of a bye year? Yeah, this is a bye year for everybody.
Yeah.
And will it have an asterisk on it at the end of the year? Yeah, it's going to have an asterisk on it at the end of the year.
100%. Well, it's like I watched the Duke, Michigan State went to Duke the other night and played.
Right.
And it was, to me, watching that game, and I know Sam said on one of our episodes last week or so, it was like watching a video game on TV. Yeah. They were playing video. But I watched it and I thought, man, this is like a scrimmage with TV sets, with the TV cameras there. Because coaches were in sweats. The players are sitting out like they would be if it was a scrimmage. They're just kind of spread out. The players are playing, referees are officiating. And it's to them, it may seem like an enhanced scrimmage to them. Coming in scrimmages today. Because there's no Cameron crazies really that you're screaming and yelling at them.
Touch football, touch basketball. We don't touch each other. We just kind of play.
Well, someone said the other day, last night, they can wrestle. So wrestling is allowed. So they can wrestle. But they won't, they won't let them shake hands to start the match. They won't let
you can't go in a restaurant in the state of Michigan.
But the wrestlers sit there at the beginning of the match. The beginning of the match, the wrestlers are standing there ready to square off. The official's ready to start it, and they can't reach across and shake the other guy's hand to wish them good luck. But they can sit there and grapple and be 2 inches away from each other and hold on for the whole match, but they can't.
I was going to say, Tom, we can actually violate them within a second.
Yes.
But it's just like, so there's some oddities to our rules that you're throwing out there, which makes it, people laugh at it sometimes. They think it's humorous because why would you make me do this, but I can do this or that and this, and it's just, it's mind-boggling to people, I think, in general. And that's what, you run into that question. Obviously, why can't we go, but you can walk through the mall and be next to someone in the mall, but you can't go to a restaurant and sit down and eat food.
Well, you can go across the border into Toledo and go sit in a bar and have a burger.
Which I have not done. Just saying.
Not yet, right? Not yet. You're close.
By the way, I was in Florida. We wore a mask walking in and out the door, but that was it.
Well, let's not go super politic on this one. But now, all things considered, what's this weekend coming to since we're going through a continuation of pandemic? Anyone besides the Lions?
There's some college football that I'll watch just to watch. Mm-hmm. I've been DVRing some games, and so I can fast forward through them. And I'm a big LSU fan, so I've been watching LSU. I watched LSU get destroyed by Alabama.
Yeah. See, so you could sit there. There's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Last year, Orgeron could do no wrong, and he had key to the city and everything. So now, Harbaugh has proven he can win, just like Orgeron has proven he can win.
Well, not to that level.
No.
Not to that level.
Not to that level. He did go to the Super Bowl, and he coached in the Super Bowl and took San Francisco. Has he done it yet at Michigan? Not yet. And had Orgeron done it at LSU yet? No, but he did last year. So now next year.
And they weren't his players.
Huh?
And they weren't his players.
Right.
Those were not Orgeron's players.
That was right. Those were the coach prior. So
Smiles players. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got that situation where it's like people are so quick to say, "Oh, Harbaugh's terrible. You can't blah blah blah." I mean, it takes everything to fall into place, and that's what hasn't happened yet. So you keep trying, and you keep trying, and you change offense coordinators, defense coordinators, personnel, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know. You're hoping that maybe you're going to move it around and everything's going to work one day and it's going to pop, just like it did for LSU last year, just like it does for Alabama almost every year. Clemson's going through a great stretch right now. There's teams. Dame has finally got their machine going. So there's a lot of things right now that they're paying dividends.
Yeah.
Michigan's gone through a lot of change. They lost 11 guys to the draft choice in the NFL. There's a lot of things that have gone on that affected this team. Plus now you get injuries. Plus COVID, you're not allowed to work out with them all year. So there's a lot of, like you said, asterisk things that need to be posed on this to have everybody jumping on this.
Doug Karsh brought up a great point though, Pat, and this is something that is an issue. So we had guys like Tariq Black say, I'm not coming back. I'm just going to go out. I'm going to be a 3rd round draft pick, but it doesn't matter. I'm not coming back. Right.
Going to Texas.
We had a number of players on the team that transferred. Michael Dwumfor is an example. There's guys that transferred and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. At Ohio State, a kid who probably would have been a top 6 or 8 draft pick at quarterback said, I'm coming back. I want every one of my teammates to come back. And you know what? There are a couple of other 1st rounders at Ohio State that said, all right, we're in, we're coming back.
We're all in. Yeah.
And what Michigan is missing is that type of mentality and attitude. You just don't see it. There's been too much of the Donovan Peoples-Jones type guys that, I don't need to work real hard. Rashawn Gary is my perfect example. Number 1 guy overall. He comes in and he's not a playmaker. He's a great contain guy, but he's not a playmaker. He gets drafted real high on potential. And what is he in the pros? He's a contain guy. Yeah. He's not the guy blowing up anybody.
No, he's not a Donald.
He's not totally in. He's Pat Swilling. Let's go back to Pat Swilling. gets the big contract, twists his ankle, and never plays another game for the Lions, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think part of the problem with the culture that Jim has is the guys aren't all in. They're just not all in. I mean, this is about an avenue to get to their career, which I understand.
Sure.
You're playing college football because you want to earn money playing football. It's the reason you're spending the time and the effort is because that's what you want.
Yeah, you want to be in the NFL. Yeah,
exactly. And they feel that Jim can get them there, and I agree. But you still got to play.
Can I ask a question between you two? Do players respect the coaches enough to leave the teams to join wherever the coach goes next? Will they actually fly with the fly?
Yes. You know, when you get your letter of intent from a school and you have to sign it and send it in, it is really explicit on that letter of intent. You are committing to the University of Michigan. You're not committing to Jim Harbaugh. You're committing to the University of Michigan. Now, we all know Chris committed to Steve Fisher. He did not commit to Brian Ellerby and the University of Michigan. He committed to Steve Fisher.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, my son was taught honor and integrity and all of that. Now, I didn't even give him the option of transferring anywhere else. He could have.
Right. Yeah.
But I would that you made a commitment, honor your commitment. You know, that is so rare today.
Yeah. Not the team, not the coach.
Yeah. Yeah. It should be about the team.
So we had Pat Miller on a while back over the summertime. He popped in for a cameo and talked a little bit about his baseball and his father. Pat just passed away. But and his career with the Phillies and coaching at UAD and all their game experiences, right, that they had, from playing minor leagues, his dad playing major league. Some of the stories were shared with him. We got Tom here tonight, and Tom, obviously, Chris played 4 years at University of Michigan and went on to play professionally overseas. And I know, you were there every step of the way at Michigan, and you went to the away games and sat there at the away games. Which place do you think in all your travels, or maybe your top two places you went to through Chris's career, and some stories that you experienced while you were there?
I'll tell you what, the absolute greatest place we went to was Duke.
Duke, yeah.
And for all of the things that a lot of Michigan fans and all Michigan State fans say about Dukies is they're all full of crap. They don't know what they're talking about. They've never been there. I've met Mike Krzyzewski. Chris got recruited lightly by Mike Krzyzewski. He's a phenomenal guy. He really is. And for people that think that Tom Izzo's a phenomenal guy, I have some stories, as Pat has heard them, about how bad he is. And I'm sure Krzyzewski's just as intense.
Sure.
But we were there, and it was Chris's freshman year. No, I must have been his sophomore year because we alternated years. No, it was his freshman year. And they put us directly behind the Michigan bench. We're the family. They put us behind the Michigan bench. By the way, guess where Michigan State puts the families of the Michigan players when they go to Breslin? Literally on the roof. You get the last two rows upstairs in a corner. The family.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, that's what they do. But anyway, so we are standing on those unbelievable risers right off the floor at Cameron. The crowd is electric, and we are right in front of the student section. You can't sit down. There's no room to sit. You have to stand. And behind us, standing up, is a whole bunch of kids that are just going nuts. Well, I've got my Michigan shirt on. My wife's got her Michigan shirt on. It's got Chris's name on it on the shoulder with his number. And there's a kid standing right behind us. And he just leans over and he says, "I'd like to introduce myself. My name is so-and-so. I'm an RA in one of the dorms. My job is to make sure you guys have an enjoyable time here." And I'm like, okay, yeah, right. Okay, we'll see how that goes. So the game starts. We get down right away. Chris comes in the game. He gets a basket, picks up a foul, and the Cameron crazies go off on Chris, like they do on every player. Sure. The kid behind me says, "Is that your son?" And I said, that's my boy. And he turns around to the fans and he says, enough. Just like Krzyzewski did about Jeff Capel. He said to the fans, enough. Chris Young's parents are right here. I don't want to hear another sound. And the kids went.
Oh, that's nice.
There was no more comments about Chris.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. Awesome. Lou Bullock's parents weren't there, so Lou Bullock took a lot of crap that day. But I'm just using that as an example. The fans there are spectacular. I have never been to a better place fan-wise ever.
All right.
That'd be number one. The second one is Iowa. I got to tell you, Iowa's the best basketball stadium in the country. There's nothing better.
Iowa City, yeah.
Iowa City. It's a bowl. It just goes straight down. It's got it looks like an office building, a 3-story office building from the outside. And you come in, the concourse is the whole top level, and you stand on that concourse, and it's 40 rows straight down. And you can stand up on the concourse, eat your popcorn, and watch the game.
Yeah, I drove past that building 4 times.
It is the coolest basketball environment I've ever seen.
Wow. Internally, okay. Outside looks like a business.
It does, but the stadium, the experience, the fans were spectacular. They every place you go. At Ohio State, they treated us great. Not at Michigan State.
No.
So anyway, those are my 2 places.
Did you go to Wisconsin? How about Wisconsin? Did you get up to
Wisconsin? They were wonderful. My God, we were out in the concourse at halftime, and a fan walked up to myself, my wife, and said, "What would you like to eat? You got to try our bratwurst." He took us up to the counter, bought us some bratwurst.
That's awesome.
The Kohl Center's a great place. It's beautiful. Every place has people like that, you know.
Oh,
and then you go to Breslin, and my wife gets knocked down in the bathroom. I mean, it's stupid.
Yeah, the in-state rivalry, you know.
Yeah.
And you've been to a few. Did you travel overseas to watch Chris play at all?
Oh, tons. Those fans are crazy.
Are they?
They're crazy.
He played in Israel?
No, he played in Belgium. He played there for 6 years total. But he played in France, Germany, Poland. Where else did he play? I think it was France, Germany, Poland, and that was it. He played in a couple different cities in France.
But he stayed in Belgium.
He was in Belgium most of the time, and he moved around. You know, Belgium is not a very big country.
I know.
So if you're outside of Brussels, and he was west of Brussels, we were 2 hours from Paris. So we went to Paris all the time.
Right.
So.
Wow.
So he was player of the year at the end, right? He got player of the year.
Yep. He was the player of the year, second to last year. Yeah.
Second to last year, yeah. As
basketball goes, how important is that sport versus soccer in those countries?
It's second to soccer.
Really?
And it's not soccer, it's football. But it's second
to
football. Yeah. And it's crazy. They have smaller stadiums, 6,000 to 10,000, but you want to see fans get mad at an official making a call that they don't like.
Watch the soccer,
watch football.
So the international basketball, you saw it back when it was probably just starting to come around, because they had just got the dream team and they played in the Olympics. So I think there was an enhancement of the European basketball back then. Did you see a lot of that with Chris playing over there? Chris's viewpoint on that?
Every team over there in the past could only have 2 Americans. You were not allowed to stack a team with a whole bunch of American college players. You were not allowed to do that.
Oh, wow.
Chris played with Kelvin Torbert one year.
Kelvin Torbert, from Michigan State,
Oh,
yeah, and and Chris and him were the 2 Americans on the team. And one of the advantages Chris had is his grandfather, Carol's dad, was a Lithuanian citizen. So Chris applied for Lithuanian citizenship while he was in Europe and got a European Union passport.
Oh, nice.
So that meant he didn't count against the American head count.
Really?
So there was one year on a team in Leuven where there were 5 Americans, 5 guys that had played American college basketball on the same team, and they kicked the crap out of everybody.
I can imagine.
They were the level of basketball there in a Belgium or a France or an Italy or a Spain. And there's some really good teams in Italy, but in general, it's not. I mean, good college basketball teams would kick the crap out of most of those professional teams.
So let me ask you a question, Tom. So if we did soccer,
Yep.
as American, country against any country in the world. Sorry, I keep saying that, but
yeah, we would not do well.
No.
No.
Now, if we add college level thinking to that same equation, where would the college players of soccer go to football internationally?
In Europe? Well, again, in Europe, we'll just go with Central Europe in general.
Sure.
They do not have teams for colleges. Everything is a club team.
Right.
Colleges are for education. They're not for sports. Right. And they'll tell you that when you're over there. Colleges are university is for education. University is not for sport. Right. For sport. So they have these club teams. And I'm sure you've heard the stories about Franz Wagner and Moritz Wagner and a lot of other European guys who played on the same team in high school, grade school, high school, all the way up. And all they did is get promoted up within the club.
Yes.
And to be honest, if you're in 8th grade and you're really good and you're playing in your club team, you can get paid.
Wow.
There's no such thing as college eligibility.
Yeah.
And by the way, outside of college basketball and outside of college football, baseball and hockey players all get paid when they're in junior hockey, when they're playing in grade school, junior high, and high school. They all do. All that equipment they get, they're getting paid.
In Europe?
But the NCAA only looks at football and basketball as that being a problem. Even women's volleyball, they get paid.
Wow.
So the NCAA is so stupid in its rules.
Overseas?
No, here. Do you think Ryan didn't get everything paid for when he went to his billet family in Ohio?
Oh, yeah. Well,
who paid for that, Pat?
Yeah, I don't know. I never asked.
Yeah, you never thought about it that way, did you? And all of a sudden he ends up at Ferris on a scholarship. Wait a minute. How's that work?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. Thank you for answering those questions. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's a great question.
Did Chris play against Argentina at all?
No, he never played South America. No, he never played anybody South. He played all over. He actually went to Russia. He played in tournaments in Russia and Lithuania and Latvia and Estonia. He played in he never went to England and played. It was one country he never played in. He went to Spain. Most of the teams are the clubs play in country, and then they would join a tournament and play at their level. They would play at their level in a tournament against 12 teams over a period of 12 weeks or 11 weeks, and then 12 week was a playoff. And they would travel to wherever it was. Like they only played their games on weekends normally, and then they do a midweek game, and they would fly or drive, bus, and remember the countries are just too close over there. And they would go all over Europe and play, and they'd win a game, and they'd be in the locker room, and the general manager would come in with an envelope, and he'd hand them all an envelope. And there's 10 guys and 5 starters, and the starters would get €1,000, and the backups would get €500.
I call it beer money.
Yeah, it was. Well, he called it beer money too. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, the stories are some of the stories are legendary. And he didn't tell me all this when he was playing. He waited till he got done playing. But
sure.
So
what years was he there?
I'm going to tell you this. I went to Germany in '85.
Yeah.
And I watched table tennis as a professional sport.
Yep.
In the sport time, which is actually the center of the town sports arena, soccer, and I was swearing to you, I have a 1947 Kallenberg bag, leather, for a table tennis team in 1947.
I believe it.
I believe it. Sport. And so I'm thinking, okay, table tennis, hockey, soccer, or football.
Well, here's another great story for you. I was in Poland it was 2004. Chris was playing in Poland, in a little town of Zgorzelec, Poland, just across the German border. And to get into the country back then, they still had the gates up. Now there's a bridge going over the river, and you don't even have to check your passport. And so Chris takes me, he meets me at the airport in Dresden, drives me back across the border, and he goes, "Okay, Dad, first things first. I didn't tell you about this, but just be aware. There's going to be guys standing there with Kalashnikovs, and they're not going to be happy you're coming into their country."
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get into the country, and the next day he goes to some training camp thing, and I went for a walk through the town. The town's about the size of Plymouth, basically, but a little bit bigger. And I end up in a downtown area, and Chris meets me there, and there's a group of people that are playing chess. A bunch of old Polish guys. And they're standing around this ginormous chessboard that's on the ground, which is all beat up. They have like logs they've carved into shapes for their chess pieces. And there's like 75 old guys out there. They're playing chess, and they get real quiet. And then they yell at each other in Polish. And they're all screaming and yelling and throwing cups at each other. And two guys are playing chess. It's as Chris said, everything for them is that type of competition. Their sport is just so important to them.
So intense.
And it was an experience and a half. I have to say, it was the greatest experience for me to go and be able to see that. So.
Well, thanks for sharing that one too.
That's awesome.
Fun stuff.
What years was he over there, Tom?
He graduated in 2001, 2002, and he came back, was done in 2014.
14, yeah. So okay, that's about right. Yeah.
He retired about 3 weeks before I got married.
Okay, I got
Came back. That was it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for the backstory.
Hey, interesting. I wanted to ask you guys a question about something. Did you hear what happened today with the Big Ten?
No.
Their announcement about Ohio State.
Oh,
they voted to let Ohio State play, right?
Yeah, but do you realize what that did to Indiana?
no.
Oh yeah, totally screwed them over.
Indiana was in second place and would have gone to the Big Ten championship game if the Big Ten had stuck to their rules.
Oh yeah.
Here's
the deal, though. See, here's the deal. Purdue just had announced yesterday, I think they had cases within their football team.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Purdue is set to play Indiana on Saturday.
Yep. And that game's been canceled.
So I thought, well, like Feinbaum said, they should find a game for Ohio State to get their second game.
Yeah.
So that's the situation, right?
Hold on.
Feinbaum comes on and says, Big Ten needs to find them a game somehow. So here Purdue can't play, and Indiana can play.
I'm
So why
sorry.
does Ohio State go play Indiana again?
Again.
But Indiana says, forget that. Why do we want to play that game? That
It's
benefits Ohio State.
It's a shit
Right?
Game of Thrones. It's a shit Game of Thrones.
Jim, you're right. It is.
But that's the thing.
No, I'm
Indiana
just saying.
can say, we'll play you again,
You can't play. I'm sorry.
but they won't. They won't play it. So they cancel that game, and now Ohio State's just gonna. But then the Big Ten says, "Oh, Ohio State can go," which to me, I totally disagree. I don't agree with that. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, let them."
The Big Ten is looking at prestige, is what they're looking at, because Ohio State undefeated going into the game against Northwestern, which they'll crush Northwestern. Yeah. I mean that's a given, right? And I guess that's not totally true. They don't play Northwestern. Would they play Northwestern in a crossover?
No.
And then play them again in the Big Ten championship game?
No. I think it's just a straight up championship game. Straight up championship game, and everybody else plays crossovers.
Okay, I got it. So the top two would do it. So they'll play Northwestern, and they'll destroy Northwestern, and they'll be 6-0.
They played them last year, didn't they?
Yeah, it was last year, the year before, and they will end up being the fourth team in the playoff, and that's what the Big Ten wants. I get it.
No. Do me a favor, guys. This year is a asterisk.
Yes, it is. I agree, Jim, totally.
There's no way any of this makes sense.
Yep.
But you look at what they're at right now is number 1 Alabama is going to play number 6 according to the rankings, Florida for the SEC title. Notre Dame and Clemson have to play each other still in the ACC.
No, they played. They played. Notre Dame won. Are they playing again in an ACC championship
They're playing
game?
again in an ACC title game. Yes.
Okay.
So now
that
2
means
and 3
they're
are
both
already
in.
play. So then you're going to have that all jumbo up, and Texas A&M sitting in the background, and Ohio State. They're both like, hey, we're good. You guys go ahead.
The only way that changes in that foursome is even if Alabama loses, that won't matter. They'll still be in.
Right.
If Clemson loses, Clemson could get pushed out with 2 losses to Notre Dame.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, but that puts Florida, if they lose to Alabama, now you bring in like a Cincinnati or.
No, Cincinnati will never get. They didn't play anybody.
Texas,
that's like saying Brigham Young is going to get. Nobody like that's ever going to get in. They're not.
Right.
They're not powerful.
That's what the case is right now. I mean, where else do you go as far as rankings go? You know,
so it's senior citizen bingo. And
there you go. Yeah.
All the balls are blank.
Yep.
And caller makes the name or the game. There's no sense to this one.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I know
I'm sorry, I have COVID this week. I'll come back next.
That's a lot of money. I don't know the whole money output, and I think everybody was eligible for bowl games. So I know we were talking about that earlier, and I think a 2 and 4 Michigan can still go to a bowl game.
Right.
I think all these teams are eligible because I looked a while back, and Michigan was still like slated to go on the projections to the Citrus Bowl or somewhere to play, somebody. I thought I haven't checked lately. I haven't seen the projections lately because some of the bowls have canceled. So some of the bowls have said we're not hosting. So it'll be interesting to see how the holiday season does shape up here. But
as I look at the calendar, guys, it's almost New Year.
It is almost New Year.
Who's the Rose Bowl parade?
No, there isn't one. No, canceled.
No, there's no. Yeah, there's nothing like that. Yeah,
all that stuff's canceled.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's canceled till January 20th.
Because Governor Gretchen.
till inauguration day. But,
right.
Yeah. No.
Then everything will change.
Magically.
Just ask Nancy Pelosi. She'll tell you what's going to happen. Just sign the bill. You read it. I'll tell you what's in it later.
That's right. Exactly.
All right. Listen,
guys, I appreciate you guys being on tonight.
That was fun, guys. I appreciate having me on.
It's always good to sit and talk, and it's been a crazy year, obviously, and we've tried to cover it here for you and throw it out there. Check my site. I got my rankings for all the teams for college, pro, and I make my comments out there. So check us online. Tom, it's been great. Hopefully you'll come back again. And I'm in. Love to have you, James.
Thank you.
Hey, let me give a little plug to someone that does a podcast also. I don't know if you guys know Tom Crawford. Tom Crawford does the Tom Crawford Network. He's up in East Lansing, but he's a big Michigan fan.
Oh, great.
He does all the sports, and he does a podcast pretty much every day on some topic. But he started again, and he's had Chris on for the last couple of years.
Oh,
Chris
nice.
did a podcast with him last week. If you go to Facebook to Tom Crawford and just scroll down through his timeline, you'll see the podcast with Chris on it talking about Michigan basketball. And I got to tell you, it was a riot watching him again. And now it's a real podcast. It's not just audio like he was doing with Michael Spath on WTKA. So
it's video.
Good stuff.
Video and stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah, we were hoping, like I say, Sam was supposed to be, we were hoping to get Sam tonight, but obviously plans come up. So, but we'd love to have everybody back next week. And
absolutely.
Like I say, every weekend something changes, it's something new every weekend.
Exactly.
Tom, are you saying you agree to coming back?
I would love to come back.
Awesome.
I got to tell you, I've been talking sports with Pat.
Oh, yeah.
For 30 years or more.
Yeah, how old are we?
And and you got to get your brother on this. You got to get Doug on it. I mean,
oh yeah,
Doug would talk about this stuff all day long.
Here's he.
Yeah, we got to get him in maybe, see if he's interested in talking.
I'm the ignorant in the room.
You're the moderator.
James
You're the
is
moderator. You have to get us all to stay on track.
learning.
Thank
That's
you
right.
very much. Well, I try my best.
He does
But
really good. He's learning.
So.
Yeah. He likes the Lions, sort of.
I'm sorry.
And
No, I'm not. But
you know,
don't talk about it.
the Lions
Yeah,
are the Lions, and hopefully the Lions. Obviously, they play Green Bay this weekend, and
Shut.
like we talked about that it's going to be an ugly game. I have a feeling.
What's the line on the game, guys? I haven't even heard.
It's 100-1.
Hang on.
Yeah. I might take the 100 on that one.
All right, deal.
I got it right here. I got it right here. Hang on.
What is it? 28-1?
No, it's
8.
probably like 9.
8 points. Packers favored by 8 right now.
Yeah.
Very well.
Game's at 4:30. And they're favored by Packers by 8.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it'd be a little bit higher, but they're being generous. They're being nice.
Look at the energy and the team.
I'd be taking the Packers. I'd be taking the Packers and giving them the 8. Yeah.
They carried the fourth quarter so well.
Yeah. I used to say
It'll be fun to watch.
Oh,
Totally.
yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Thanks
again. I appreciate the invite.
Yes, we'll do it again. James.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Take care.
Cheers.
Have my sports talk.
Nice meeting you, Jim. Take care.